Hello and welcome to this week's Independent Music Podcast. 10 of the best new tracks each week, hosted by me, Anthony Chalmers.
And me, Gareth Main. Hello, welcome to this week's Independent Music Podcast. That song gives you a sense of where my selections of this week are taking you. Sort of soft, beautiful music from Dumama and Kechou. The track is called Mother Time. It's taken from the LP called Buffering Juju.
Nice.
Buffering Juju.
Just some good feelings while you're waiting for things to upload.
Yeah, something like that. They are South Africa-based duo. Dumama from South Africa. Kechou is Algerian, of German descent, who has grew up in Germany. Their album is coming out on Mushroom Hour Half Hour, which is a Dutch label, on the 20th of March.
Is it a Dutch label?
It is.
Oh, wow. I just presumed that was a South African label after they released that incredible Spazzo album.
Very good point, actually, because, yeah, that's where we learnt about the label, was that
Mushroom
Spazzo
Half Hour
record.
Recordings, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Wow.
Mushroom Hour Half Hour. Just skipping out a word in the middle of the title of the...
Intriguing.
But yeah, certainly in Northern Europe, you get a lot of labels who are sort of specialists in a certain African country. You know, I think of Crammed Discs being a good example.
Oh.
And, you know, a couple of labels like that. So yeah, it's...
Isn't Analog Africa from those parts anyway?
German, yes, Analog Africa. But this is contemporary music. It is, like I say, out on the 20th March. There's a long press release. It's sort of circular music there, and I love that sound where you sort of build on top of each other, and there's that deep bass, that atmospheric bass. It's beautiful music.
Yeah, wonderful. I sort of feel like even though I only know 2 releases from Mushroom Hour Half Hour, it's had its name wrong for so long, I feel like, yeah, they're already getting a signature sound. Absolutely love that. Going to play you the latest single from Hilary Woods, the Irish singer. She released her debut album on Sacred Bones Recordings about 2 years ago, and this is the follow-up. I was a big fan of the first one. This carries on much in the same vein. This is called Tongues of Wild Boar.
Wind did not burn my desire.
Here we go, another slice of gothy folk from Hilary Woods. It's got a really nice video up on YouTube to go with that as well. That is Tongues of Wild Boar.
You know, if you like videos and independent music and are in London this Saturday, this is the last plug for our live show at Eclectic in Waterloo. It's going to be at 2 p.m. There are still tickets available. You should come down.
8 of your English pounds, including booking fee.
Exactly. Come down and drink and enjoy music with me and Anthony. It is going to be cracking, and we'll probably be more upbeat than that track, although maybe we'll play something like that.
Yeah, who knows? I've got Gareth was just looking at quite how miserable this pod is, or how not miserable, but how general dark tone of this whole pod.
It's atmospheric.
But I'm going to be turning it up with some big Tropicalia boogie disco in the middle. Hilary Woods, as I said, she's on Sacred Bones. Her debut album, Prodigal Dog, came out in May 2018. This is the follow-up. It's going to be coming out on the 12th of March, and it's called Birthmarks. And this is the first single from it, Tongue of Wild Boar.
Before Anthony gets into his tropical boogie, was that how you described it?
It was.
Yeah, I'm going to play some dark industrial music from Argentina. In South America, there's bands with unusual names. I think of Sexy Crocodile for Dinner, who's actually from Uruguay, not from Argentina. But this one is called Cheating Spouses Caught on Tape, is the name of the artist, from Buenos Aires. They describe themselves as sonic mistreatment and queer negativity. This is a record called Daddy's Boy. It's really atmospheric, incredible industrial music. It's brilliant. This is called I Miss the Comfort of Being Sad. really hope you're listening to this podcast on either some really good headphones or some really good speakers at the moment, because the first two tracks that I've played have both been incredibly like heavy,
sonically
good,
dense.
Yeah, that's a great phrasing. Yeah, I would never have come up with that. Sonically dense is a good way of putting it. That is the sounds of Cheating Spouses Caught on Tape, track called I Miss the Comfort of Being Sad. It's the closing track from their EP called Daddy's Boy. So as far as I'm aware, it's a self-release. You can name your price for it at cscot.bandcamp.com.
Nice. And if you go on that Bandcamp, you can enjoy the bottoms of Tom of Finland there as well. I'm not sure I really thought it was particularly industrial, but I don't really have any suggestions of where to, what genre or where to qualify it as instead. So we'll just keep with that kind of dark ambient or something.
Yeah, fairly unclassifiable, I would say. The record itself, it says here, it's built on ambient recordings registered in different hospitals and clinics in Buenos Aires. So a lot of field recordings with additional bass.
Oh, so that sort of like high-pitched boop thing is the sort of heart monitor or something, isn't it?
Yeah, presumably.
Now that I know that. What was that brilliant record that was made from the hospital about the heartbeat, about the guy's dad passing away?
You thought I wouldn't know it off the top of my head, but I do. It's Pissy Takun on Chinabot, the record. Yeah, it's essentially recorded around the time of his father dying, and the opening track from it is essentially to the BPM of his dad's like dying heart, and it's
quite something.
Yeah, it's wonderful. That was the podcast we recorded live at Milhões de Festa.
Was it?
Like 2 years ago now, that we opened up the podcast with that one. That is a great record. China Pop, haven't seen anything from them for a few months. I'll have to dig it out.
Have to look in. All right, as promised, it's time for Boogie Meltdown by Flamingo Pier. This is a new 12-inch on Soundway Recordings. There we go, listeners. That is the sounds of Flamingo Pier's Boogie Meltdown. Sort of perk you up in the sort of halfway point, bit the less halfway point of the podcast. They are from New Zealand, in Auckland. They are DJs, producers, and club promoters over there. This is their second release on Soundway, it turns out, but the first one around this time last year completely passed us by. But I enjoyed that very much. It's also got a beautiful cover. Gareth seems to be in the process of buying it.
No, not quite yet, but that cover is so stunning. And every week we talk about a cover on what is an audio podcast. But yeah, they look so beautiful. If it's printed properly, that is going to be a beautiful sleeve to have in
Is that going to be the one we're going to use for the podcast cover?
We'll have a look. I'll see where we're at the end of today. But anyway, I was also halfway through the track thinking, you know what? It's not that up-tempo, and it wasn't that up-tempo. It was just a little groovy in there. It was fitting with the sort of down-tempo pod.
Or when Hilary Woods and a record that was recorded in a hospital were the last two, I'd say it's upbeat.
I'm going to play the most upbeat thing I think I've got with me this week. This is from another Dutch label, actually, called Nous'klaer Audio. It's the EP I'm going to play is from a chap called Mattheis. That is the project of, apologies for this, Mattheis Verschuur. He is a house producer from Rotterdam. This track's quite hard to categorize as well. Essentially ambient house, quite poppy in parts. He's done a lot of records over the years. He had an album on Ecstatic Recordings back in 2015, mostly released on Nous'klaer Audio though. They are a Rotterdam label. He is a Rotterdam producer. And this track is from the 12-inch called A Falcon's Eyrie. It's called Woodlands. precise sounds of Mattheis, the track called Woodlands, taken from the 12-inch Vulcan's Eerie, released.
Falcons? Sounds like you said Vulcan.
Vulcan.
A Vulcan's Eerie.
Yeah, that's a Falcon. You're making me really self-conscious about it. A Falcon. Is that how you say it? Falcon. I think this is a Falcon. UK north-south.
Falcon. I think maybe it is Falcon. Maybe I had it wrong.
It's a north-south divide thing, I think. But anyway, it's the 12 inches, whatever you want to call it. It's released on Nous'klaer audio.
You can't say anything anymore. Now you're thinking about it.
I am. Usually it's so effortless as always comes through on the podcast.
Broadcasting main.
And now I'm trying. It just sounds terrible. But no, it's Mattheis. Yeah, it's the project of Mattheis Vischer. He is from Rotterdam. The label is also from Rotterdam. Like I say, and go check out Luminous Frames, his LP, on Ecstatic a couple of years ago. And he's got lots of other releases on Nous'klaer Audio and a few other records as well. The label itself is run by a chap called DJ Uberman, who I'm not aware of.
I quite like the artwork on that as well. It looks like sort of close up on a wedding cake or something.
Yeah, that's twice in a podcast we'll talk about the artwork. Close up on a wedding cake.
I mean, it looks nothing like the close-up of a wedding cake. Is the new single by Casual Nun.
Also someone who would never get married or have a wedding cake, Casual Nun.
That is true. No, depends how casual the nun was about their vows. The new single's called A Light Plague. It's on Hominid Sounds. It's a good one. This is a radio edit. Unfortunately, I don't have a full version. But this is...
Look, that's 2 in 3-4 weeks that we've played of Hominid Sounds. They've had a radio edit.
The Luminous Bodies one was released on Box Records.
Yeah, but I was talking about Bruxia Maria, where it had the radio edit as well.
And it's true. They obviously released the radio edits first.
There you go, trying to play some heavy rock on the radio.
Keeping that Hominid train rolling. Sorry for no full fat. That was just sort of fading out, sadly. The sounds of Casual Nun.
I have to get the whole album.
Exactly. Well, that's just the first... to be honest, they probably would have sent it to me if I asked. But basically, I thought we were recording the podcast on Thursday. And then I was like, hang on a minute, I've got Soviet France at Corsica that night because I failed to put stuff in my calendar because I am a useless, disorganised scatterbrain.
So if you want to go to that show, go into the past.
Tough shit. It was 4 days ago. Casual Nun are a band of Greeks and an American in London. Although our American is actually a long-term British citizen. So, and much loved, an absolutely fantastic band. This is, I don't know, 3rd album. I don't know, they did some EPs and some singles and stuff.
Super Fancy Skeleton is the LP that leaps to mind.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they did one other one as well. Brilliant band, much loved, doing a co-headline with Luminous Bodies at the Lexington on, I believe, the 21st of February. And they should be playing around all over the place, hopefully, for our non-London listeners.
I almost got through the entire month of January without playing something from Uganda, but here it is. This is new on Hakuna Kulala Records. It's from a producer called Villaelvin. I'm going to read the blurb because they describe it better than I could. In April 2019, improvising lyricist, producer and sound artist Elvin Brandy moved to the villa in Kampala, Uganda, that the Nege chaps all live at, working on a collaborative album with several artists from the collective. Auto-tune blast beats from field recordings of evangelist churches, the swamps surrounding the studios, with warped drums by Kampala-based percussionist Omutaba, improvised stream of consciousness lyrics from local rappers Hakim and swordsman Kitala, with glitched-out bassy productions from Don Zilla and Congolese producer Ois. This new project called Villaelvin is the first full LP to be released on Hakuna Kulala. Actually, I thought that Debmaster and MC Yella record was actually an LP.
Yeah, that is a good point.
But I think they mean that this is the first one that's coming out on vinyl. Although actually, I got this the other day, the Slickback 2 EPs, Boomcat pressed on vinyl as like one LP, which is very delicious and worth picking up if you got it. I actually picked that up in the Boomcat sale.
Nice. I had something great that Kiki Hitomi posted, I think, on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this. It was DJ Scott Chegg with a Ugandan grindcore vocalist.
I'm into it.
Yeah, it was his residency with the Nege lot, and it's a collaboration that was turning up the gnarliness even from what you often hear for those guys. It was killer. I was just like, oh man, I want to book that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of whatever comes out of those sessions from that residency, the guys out there invite artists over fairly regularly to collaborate with local artists, and some of the output has been spectacular. But anyway, I'm going to play this one, Villaelvin, the LP called Head Roof. It came out last week. This track is called Ghot Zilla.
Magnificent.
Yeah, Ghot Zilla by Villaelvin.
My brain was saying a Ghostface Killer when I was sort of flicking through to see what you had there.
Ghot Zilla.
Yeah, just like my brain sort of read that as a Ghostface Killer.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the LP called Head Roof, it's out right now via Hakuna Kulala out of Kampala in Uganda. And yeah, if you are unaware of Hakuna Kulala and Nege Nege tapes, that is a world of music that you should really explore if you're into unusual sounds coming out of Central Eastern Africa. And actually, I was thinking about it, like Hakuna Kulala is obviously sort of the sister label of Nege Nege, but the music coming out of Hakuna Kulala, which is a bit more curated to local artists, like tends to excite me more than the Nege Nege stuff.
Yeah, I see them as one and the same, even though they are obviously different labels. Would you say there's a distinct musical difference stylistically? Not really, right?
To a degree, in the sense like Nege Nege plays some stuff that is outside of Africa as well. They've got some international artists on there, and they've gone more a bit sound arty as well on there and some more recent releases, whilst also having the Tanzanian sort of Sizo intense sounds like Singele and stuff like that on there. It's I don't know if they've sort of wound back a little bit in Nege Nege and focusing more on Hakuna Kulala. Maybe I'm talking complete nonsense, and any of them listening to this can correct me on it.
As we know that they do. Thank you for listening.
I want to give a big shout out, and Anthony also wants to give a big shout out to Christopher Jameson. He is our latest
patron number 39. Thank you, buddy.
In an increasing line of patrons supporting this ear podcast, ensuring we can bring this music to your ears every single week.
After my dad cancelled his Patreon, we've been bounced back with many, many new wonderful supporters.
Yeah, your dad supporting, keeping us afloat, really. It's been incredibly appreciated. So thank you so much, Christopher, for supporting us and the podcast and enabling these sounds from unusual parts of the world and unusual sounds from wonderful parts of the world to reach ever-increasing pairs of ears.
Yeah, I want to give what I believe is a world exclusive first play here to solo music from Dan Copeman, the drummer of the band Esben and the Witch, previously from Brighton, but all three of them relocated to Berlin years ago now. His solo project is called Angstkiste.
Angstkiste.
Angry Geese. And I really like it. It's sort of nominally sort of slightly ambient, electronically, non-dance music, electronic stuff. I really like it. He used to be the guitarist in the band, and then I think after the first album, the bassist in the band, I think it was the bassist. Anyway, whatever. He wasn't the drummer, and they swapped. And I can't think of that many bands that the guitarist or the bassist sort of became the drummer.
Electric Soft Parade, I believe that happened in, where I think the younger brother Tom White, I think, got a bit bored of being like the principal songwriter and being the drummer, and then sort of swapped. And Alex White, so his brother, who was for the first album, like essentially the frontman of that band, they both became guitarists and had Matt Priest of Dodgy as their drummer for a time. But then I think Alex White's drummed a bit more. He was also the drummer for Breaks.
That I did know.
So yeah, as the Electric Soft Parade have been around for a long, long time now. They had a new album come out a couple of weeks ago that
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a tad self-indulgent. A lot of their sort of later releases have been.
I still got a bit of time for breaks though, especially live.
Yeah, exactly. Some of those early ESP tracks and some of the later ones as well are good. The music is decent. It's kind of escaped up its own arsehole a little bit.
All right, we'll settle in for 9 minutes of Angstkeiste. This track is called Distant Blinking Lights 6.0. There we go. Love that. That is the sound of Angstkiste. Sorry, Dan, for butchering it the first time.
Angstkiste.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it actually? Is that what it's meant to be? Is like all the letters?
Yeah, I don't even know. I should have asked him before this. How the hell do you say this, Dan? But Distant Blinking Lights 6.0 is the name of that song. That is up on SoundCloud /user/149180859. In case you were wondering, in case you wanted to find that.
Yeah, he needs to sort his URL.
Catchy stuff.
Yeah.
We'll post that maybe on the Facebook feed or have some links somewhere. And definitely you'll have exactly how to spell that and the song up on independentmusicpodcast.net. That is first solo music from Ezra and the Witches, Dan Copeman.
Yeah, or you can swipe on wherever you're listening to the podcast to get the show notes, which will also have the track listing of everything we have played on this week's podcast, including this song that I'm going to play now. A little bit of a change from everything else I've played this week in my sort of down-tempo mood. This is from the Leonard Simpson Duo. That is a collaboration between Guilty Simpson, who's a Detroit MC, and Leonard Charles. He's a New Zealand producer, actually another New Zealand.
Second one from New Zealand. Nice.
Yeah, interesting. They've collaborated with this really, it says here, psychedelic and acid-influenced album.
Great artwork again. Third time mentioning it on the pod.
This might be what I use for the cover.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic.
It's released on Jakarta Records, which is a brilliant German hip-hop label we've played a few times in the past. This album is called LSD, and this track is called My Inspiration.
Yeah. Feeling inspired today. Gotta win. Time waits for no man. Yeah, I'm inspired by Detroit, y'all. By the peaks and the pitfalls. By the talent and abundance. In that way, we're so rich, y'all. I'm inspired by my family. No matter what, always had me. My little cousins grew so fast. I see them and pass out candy. I'm inspired by the go-getters. Always working, no quitters. On the grind through the hard times. 9-to-5s and the dope dealers. I'm inspired by the music. Before that, I felt useless. And the doors that it opened up. So I stay dropping new shit. One time. My inspiration. I'm inspired by my enemies. Those wishing for an enemy. Adding fuel to the fire. Still giving me the energy. I'm inspired by the broke days. Felt like there was no way. Made me want to give up. I never did, now it's okay. I'm inspired by the scars. It made us who we are. The bumps and the bruises. Still shooting for the stars. I'm inspired by the hate. Makes me want to be great. Speaking bad cause I'm seeing math. On the road doing dates. Real. One time. Inspiration. Play that back, G.
There you have it. It's the Leonard Simpson duo, Guilty Simpson and Leonard Charles, a track called My Inspiration, taken from the album called LSD. It's released via Germany's Jakarta Records. And yeah, I was actually looking at when we last played Jakarta, because it's a label I keep an eye on. It was actually 2017 we played the brilliant Il Camille record. It actually appeared on our favourites of 2017 as well. Unsurprisingly, our favourites that I look at the track listing and go, wow.
What did we have on there?
Well, Idris Ackamoor and the Pyramids.
Oh, yeah.
We had on there.
Symphony in Berlin.
No, Tinoge Yataba. We also had Nod on there. We had Group Douay and Cheveux. That record is cracking. I listen to that fairly often still now. Roger Robinson and Disrupt. Pessimist. Mirrored Lips. Mahatma X. Can't really believe that record is that old. Part Chimp.
Strong. From Iv.
And Hampshire and Fote, someone else actually who has a new record out on Athens of the North. I think in a week or two's time.
How you remember all this stuff?
Well, mate, encyclopedic knowledge of music. Well, I remember that track listing because I was literally just reading it. But I remember other people who have records out because obviously I take notice.
I was trying to remember. I didn't remember who Hampshire and Vote was.
One of the, I think Greg Fote is.
I did know all the other ones.
Is the chap from the Bees. One of the chaps on the Bees makes absolutely idyllic piano compositions.
I had one album from the Bees, Free the Bees.
Free the Bees was, their second, I think.
Yeah, I remember having that one on CD back in the day.
Oh, great record, great band.
Well, that's about all we've got time for. Thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. Always a pleasure to bring this music to you. If you want to subscribe, if you're a first-time listener, you can just subscribe. Just click that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. iTunes, Pocket Casts, Acasts, etc. We had a little bit of a technical on Spotify over the last couple of weeks, but we have seen that, and that is now sorted. So our Spotify listeners, that's now fixed. You might have, if you were a subscriber, you might have missed an episode, but they'll be popping up now. Welcome back. Exactly. We're going to leave you with the second single from the fantastic debut album from Pulled by Magnets. That is the new band featuring 2/3 of Polar Bear. It's released on Tactile Records, which is a sub-label of Glitterbeat. This is called Slow Shrouded Isle. It is some dark, doomy, gothy jazz.
Disco next week. Bye.